Nigeria continues to experience high migration due to its economic crisis, unemployment, insurgency, amongst others. While some go through legal means, others go through shady means to leave the country at all costs. The International Organization for Migration has said at least 1.3 million Nigerians are facing irregular migration challenges across the world, which includes physical abuse, psychological abuse, amongst others. So far, the federal government has repatriated more than 600 stranded Nigerians in the last 4 months. Despite the disadvantage it poses to the country of origin, countries of destination, as well as the migrants themselves, the situation still continues to persist. Joining me from our Abuja studio is the president of Journalists International Forum for Migration, Dr. Ajibola Abayomi. Good morning. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
Oh, thank you and good morning. Thank you for having me.
Right. Now, according to the International Organization for Migration, it says about 1.3 million Nigerians are facing irregular migration challenges across the world. Help us understand why this is so, despite several levels of advocacy being done. We are still seeing these huge numbers.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, the reason for that cannot be far-fetched from the fact that you and I know a lot of challenges are involved in this economy. Few minutes before I was ushered into the studio, I was, listening to the way you and your colleague were actually analyzing what should be done to reposition Nigeria economy positively, and I was impressed. Now back to your question. IOM said about 1.3 million Nigerians across the globe, officially, because IOM is the official, agency of migration of the UN. But the reality is that even within Africa here, unofficially, there are more than 20, there are more than, let me say, to be moderate, let me say there are more than 10 million Nigerians within the Africa alone that are in irregular migration status. But for us, we are concerned, and what we need to do as journalists is to ensure that we join the management of migration in Nigeria to ensure that the right things are done and our people are out of these, these challenges. And that is why we are gathered in Abuja here for a workshop sponsored by the Nigerian German Center for Jobs, Migration and Reintegration for journalists to actually sensitize journalists on the ease of irregular migration and human trafficking. Because it is a matter that all of us must be interested in. The people that are involved in this irregular migration are our brothers, our sisters, and many of them were tricked into this journey. In the course of this, taken to this irregular migration, many of them have lost their lives, many of them are abused, and countless challenges they face. So it must not continue like this, and we must work together. All hands must be on the deck, particularly with the new government that is coming in, to see how they can further work on the economy to make sure that Nigerians are not caught in the web of irregular migration. Yes, we know factors that are responsible for this. The pull and the push factors are known to you and I. You have said it all the other time when you said, in course of your discussion, employment is very key. Many Nigerian youths today are not privileged to have access to job opportunity, and they have the energy, and it is natural, even for an average human being, to migrate to where you feel you can have opportunity. But what we are saying that in the course of this migration, it must be done properly. Because the right way to go, and the only way migration can be profitable, it is when it is done through a very regular, safe, and orderly channel. So for us, as journalists, we are concerned, and that is why you saw us every year, we do organize capacity building for journalists across the world. In fact, this year we are going to Canada, specifically between October 2 to 14, to also host the 4th edition of the Journalists International Forum for Migration, Global Migration Summit. The workshop we are holding in Abuja, good enough also, your station is represented. So we have aggregate journalists across all the media, all the media sections. Some of them are from print, some of them are from, broadcast and online media practitioners. We are gathered at this workshop to also review what can be done strategically from the media angle to see how we can contribute to solving the issues of irregular migration and human trafficking in Nigeria. So we are concerned, and for us, it's not a job that can be done in a jiffy. We believe that constantly, by the time we engage various stakeholders and other interest groups, and even Nigerians at different levels, we will make headway.
All right. The irregular migration, like we know it and understand it, there are some people, we understand there are cartels and there are syndicates that are behind, that drive and propel this irregular migration and so on. We have heard NAPTIP has been very strong and vehement against cartels like that. In fact, in the last month, we hear 1 or 2 persons were arrested. But talk to us about prosecuting these people and even getting to know who they are as a way of arresting them, because they are the ones who facilitate this thing. Sometimes the victims are unaware, totally unaware of what the routes are, where to go, how to go, what it takes, as the case may be. Talk to us from that window.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, if I may also add more. Yes, Nigerian government created a NAPTIP since 2003 to ensure that they fight the issues of human trafficking. And I'm aware that from 2004 till date, NAPTIP have been able to secure about 599 convictions of people who are involved in human trafficking. There are over 3,600 cases that have been reported to NAPTIP. But while all of this is going on, and NAPTIP is also doing a lot of engagement to ensure that we put human trafficking at bay, we must understand that the basic foundation that gives impetus to human trafficking in Nigeria emanated from poverty of knowledge of people that have been trafficked. Because again, I'm not talking of total abject poverty now, because everywhere you go in the world, there is poverty. And that is why for us, in the media, we are going to stress more on public enlightenment, awareness, because we felt it is out of ignorance that many Nigerians are falling prey to this cartel that are into human trafficking. And when you look at human trafficking, it's a very, very profitable business for those cartels that are in it. In fact, according to International Labour Organization, human trafficking is worth $150 billion US. In fact, it is the second largest criminal network in the world. So you've asked the questions that oftentimes NAPTIP arrest people and they don't know those who are involved, they were not paraded. Let me tell you, human trafficking is a very complex issue to deal with. You will even discover that parents, religious leaders, people that these victims look forward to, are involved in this trafficking process. And in many cases, I also pity NAPTIP when they put up persons that were suspects to be human trafficker, even in the law court. Many of them found out that they are related in one way or the other. They prevail on the victims, and even the accused, they agree and they withdraw the case along the line. But that is not what we are going to. What we should be bothered about is that how do we ensure that human trafficking is put at bay in Nigeria? Is for us to let people understand that people that are deceiving our brothers, our sisters, to embark on unplanned journey, or are giving them false hope about jobs, or are also telling them that when they leave the shores of the country, they pick currency, dollar, pounds on the street. It is not true. These people are our enemies. And we must be so passionate about issues of human trafficking because for every Nigerian that is being trafficked that has future Nigerian president, future medical, doctor, future journalists, future ministers, future governors, their future are being destroyed. For instance, you can imagine if our president-elect, I'm talking of His Excellency, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, were to have fallen, victims of human trafficking, he wouldn't be where he is today. And that is why we must be bothered. That is why those who are trafficking these people, we must cooperate with NAFTIP and other security agencies. We must give information. We must ensure that we stamp out human trafficking. There are a lot of tricks human traffickers have evolved these days. And that is why, like the other time I was explaining to you that we are in Abuja to have a workshop on sensitization strategy being sponsored by the NJC for journalists on how we can also work with other stakeholders in the migration management space to see how we can cope further the incidences of irregular migration and human trafficking. It is a very serious case. In fact, if you ask me, those who are into human trafficking, they are more or less the greatest enemies of this country. Because apart from exploiting the victims, apart from getting money from them, they dehumanize them at the end of the day. You can imagine young ladies, young women, young girls between the ages of 15 and 16 sleeping with men. We're sleeping with 40, 50 men in a day. You may think we are exaggerating, but that's the reality. I've been privileged to travel to even our neighboring country here in Benin Republic, in Ghana, in Togo, and I saw the way a lot of Nigerian girls are being abused that fell into the traps of, human traffickers. And we have also done what we could in several instances to do a kind of a discreet reporting with the NATIP that have rescued some of these ladies back home. But again, like I said, the foundation I laid at the beginning of this discussion, we must address issues of pull and push factors that are making people to believe that when you go to other countries, all is well. It's not true. When you even go to Benin Republic here, you get jobs that, yes, there is a stable power supply, that you have access to health facility, that your problem is solved. They make people to go through all these irregular routes. People go through the desert. People go through the... Honestly, very, very painful. A lot of Nigerians out of ignorance. They will just drop, these human traffickers will just drop a map showing them that this is Libya, this is Spain, this is Spain, this is Germany. You can just cross over, not knowing that you have to go through the Mediterranean Sea. And how many of them survived the journey? Many lives have been lost.
Dr. Abayomi.
Again, we always counsel people that believe that this issue of human trafficking is limited to a region in Nigeria, a particular state. I don't want to mention any state. It is now all over. It's not an issue of South-South or Southeast or Southwest. All of us must be alive to the responsibility to see what we can do to ensure that we fight human trafficking, we cooperate with NAPTIP, and we put this at bay.
All right. If you can hear me, I was going to ask, the advocacy against human trafficking has been on for decades. And I am wondering that, is there something wrong with our messaging such that people are not understanding the damage or the impact on their lives or the effect and the dangers with regards to irregular migration, such that we still have to continue this advocacy? What is missing with regards to our messaging, such that people are not really understanding the importance of migrating legally?
You see, when you say that, I want to say that with due respect, we need to continue to do what we know how to do best, particularly as journalists. It is not as if that people are not getting these messages, but the challenge they are faced with, challenge of survival, challenge of putting body and soul together, my dear sister and colleague, it goes beyond any other message you want to pass across. When there is Bob Marley sang a song and he said, "An hungry man is an angry man." We must make this economy very, very friendly with our people. What are the drivers of irregular migration or human trafficking? The other time we were talking about inflation. When you have inflation in the country, look at, for instance, when they came up with this issue of Naira redesign, a lot of businesses have crashed. A lot of people, have gone through a lot of pains. I don't want to talk that because it has political undertone. But what we are saying is that policies of government must also help the situation. For us as journalists, we must continue to redesign our messages, the pattern of reporting, to ensure that we continue to engage these people, to engage our people, to see the ills of human trafficking and irregular migration. Good enough for you to know that the human traffickers are also being dynamic in their tricks. Now they are all over the places on social media, using all sorts of tricks to capture the attention of the youth. That is why some of us, many of us that are professional journalists, that are not just mere bloggers, we must be able to put out information that are genuine to counter the narrative coming from the camp of these human traffickers. A lot of youth now, let me say probably over 60 to 70% of the Nigerian youth are internet savvy, and many of them use a lot of, they fiddle around with all this Android phone and all that. And this is where these human traffickers have diverted their attention now. We will continue to remodel our strategy, and we will continue to engage the people, because it's not as if the message is not there, but we must not rest on our horse, because these human traffickers are not resting. These human traffickers, their own mindset is to see how they can exploit, how they can commercialize these people, and we must continue to tell people that this is wrong, this is evil, we must cooperate with government. Then again, I'm also using this opportunity to appeal to the Nigerian, Ministry of Labor and Employment. The reality is that when you see people who want to move from Nigeria in large number, particularly used to another country, the bottom line is labor migration. Why don't we also evolve a system whereby we negotiate with employers of labor in the Middle East, in UK, in other European countries, and in America? Let us engage them to ensure that we have a channel where whoever wants to recruit Nigerians for the purposes of job is known to the Nigerian government. And the Ministry of Labor should also partner with all these job recruiting agencies on how to train Nigerians to make them available for this job. Because the reality also is that every year we keep churning out graduates, but we also have limited opportunities in Nigeria. The jobs are not there. White-collar jobs are no longer there. And Nigerians are lucky to have youth who have energy. They want to use their energy to better their lot.
All right, let me ask you this due to time. We're trying to see how we can cover a few things. Now, you talked about a workshop that is going on in Abuja for journalists. What is this workshop meant to address amongst journalists when it comes to, or when it relates to irregular migration?
Yes, this is very important. And that also draws me back to the question asked by your colleagues the other time. That is it because people are not getting this information right that people keep joining the nets of irregular migration? And the purpose of this workshop is to evolve a communication strategy on how to engage journalists for us to know how to report better cases of irregular migration, cases of human trafficking. You also know that as journalists, yes, journalists know a bit about everything, but that does not say that we know everything. We want to ensure that journalists have the knowledge they understand the concept of these migration issues, the problem, the challenges, for us to be able to report better. And that is why today we give kudos to the Nigerian German Center for Jobs, Migration and Reintegration for partnering with the Journalists International Forum for Migration to ensure that the workshop that is going on in Abuja between today and tomorrow addresses issues of reportage pattern and also look at the challenges that journalists face. It is a workshop that is going to be so engaging in that the journalists will also have opportunity to have input into the migration management in Nigeria. We are going to interface with people from Ministry of Labor and Employment, the Nigerian Immigration Service, and like I said, we have selected journalists across all the segments of the media, people in print and broadcast, people in the electronics, and people also from the online media. So it is about us evolving a strategy to see how we can engage the Nigerian populace better for them to embrace regular migration. Because, come to think of it, regular migration is the best way to go. Okay, between 2015 and 2023, the CBN has just released the data to show that the Nigerians in diaspora has contributed over $168 billion to the coffers of Nigeria as a result of remittances from, from all over the world. So we want more Nigerians to travel with honor, to join the list of Nigerians that are in diaspora, that are in regular status, so that they can also earn this earned currency in an honorable way. And let me also add at this point, I want to also advise the incoming government to look at the possibility of creating Ministry of Diaspora. The Nigerian Diaspora, the Nigerian Diaspora Commission is big enough now to assume the role of a full ministry. It should be carved out of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Because a lot of issues
wouldn't that be duplicating
concerning
the
Nigerians abroad.
responsibilities? Ajibola, wouldn't that be duplicating the activities of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs? Because anything that has to do with foreign affairs, Nigerians or diplomacy as the case may be.
No, you assume so. The Ministry of Affairs is in charge of foreign policy. But we are talking of Nigerians who are in the diaspora, Nigerians who have also right to contribute to this economy. The advice I'm giving to you now has been practicalized in countries like India, and they are reaping the benefit. So it is not as if we are duplicating, responsibility of Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I am saying for that agency to be more effective, to monitor Nigerians in diaspora, to monitor activities of Nigerians, we should have a full-fledged ministry whereby you can have people who can freely understand the challenges Nigerians are going through. For instance, you can see what we are facing now in Sudan and several countries. It takes weeks before we can address the issue of evacuation. We have to go through a series of protocols. But we need to have a ministry that is not also under this Foreign Affairs Ministry. The Foreign Affairs Ministry is too large. So let there be Ministry of Diaspora for Nigerians, so that we can be able to monitor effectively issues, challenges, and progress of Nigerians abroad, and also make them to be very active in terms of contributing to the development back home. Nigerians in diasporas have also argued, they've asked for them to also have the right to vote in Nigeria. So those are the issues that can be taken care of by a separate ministry. So we are advocating that. But again, like we were saying here, we must be bothered, we must be concerned about issues of human trafficking, issues of irregular migration. You don't need to travel through the desert. You don't need to travel through the Mediterranean Sea if your desire is to travel abroad. You must have the right documentation. You must have the right qualification. You must have the right skill. You can also travel for the purpose of business, for the purpose of tourism, for the purpose of engagement. All these opportunities are there, but because the human traffickers play on the intelligence of the ignorant ones, they dupe them, collect money from them, and they made mess of their life. So we are appealing to Nigerians to not also see migration as a very negative, thing. Because when this picture, when a lot of people see this picture of people dying on the Mediterranean Sea, people dying on the desert, they think probably migration is all about all this. No, far from that. We are saying that if migration is done properly, it's going to be a win-win situation for the country and for those who are also migrants.
Right. Dr. Abayomi, quickly, because of our time, I'd like for you to, in specific terms, speak to us with regards to how you want the incoming administration to address this matter of migration.
Thank you. I am giving a kind of advice that I'm advising the incoming government to work assiduously with various organizations that are in Nigeria, like the Nigerian, German Center for Jobs, Migration and Reintegration, like the International Organization for Migration, like our own national, Agency for Prohibition of Trafficking in Person, ATIP. We need more collaborations. We need to evolve a system whereby we'll address the pull and push factors. And I want to believe that the incoming government have seen the magnitude of challenges that are involved on migration matters, and I've also seen the benefit. And that's why I said, I am suggesting that we have a separate ministry for Ministry of Diaspora being carved out.
Right.
And I want to also see a migration policy in Nigeria that is working, that is also encouraging us to have discussions with labor employers across the world, to make us negotiate decent jobs for Nigerians.
Dr. Abayomi, we have to leave the conversation here. Dr. Ajibola Abayomi, President, Journalists International Forum for Migration, thank you for your time on the program.